Hi, my name is Adi. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to natively bring Anthropic's Claude model's capabilities into Codex. Why do we want to do this? I'll talk about it a bit later, but in short, most of my workflows today goes by Codex and I love it. But sometimes I do miss the warmth or the creativeness of Claude, and I don't want to switch between Claude Code and Codex or use some other hacks. I want to use the native official way to bring that in. I'm going to show you how to do this. We're going to use something called a subagent, but enough of me yapping. So first I'll just show you a quick demo and then I'll tell you how I set this up. And to do that, I'm going to bring up a terminal and I'm going to boot up Codex here like I usually do. 2 is my preferred interface. And here I'm going to say, help me write a poem based on my life using the writer subagent. And I'm going to press enter. So it's going to read all about me, Codex, as it normally does. And here comes the most important part. It's going to spin up agent, and it's going to use the Claude 4.6 sonnet model to actually write the poem itself. Here it decided to use the medium reasoning model. Yeah, it's waiting for the subagent to write. Here the subagent is done. This output is from the Claude 4.6 sonnet because that's what I've configured the writing subagent to use. I mean, this was just a simple example to show you how this works, but I typically use this in different things. For example, if I want to experiment designs in Figma or things like that. But the most important point is all of this is happening directly within Codex. I did not have to go to another tool. Here, Sonnet is natively fused into Codex and it's part of its agent loop and it can orchestrate it. For example, sometimes I have a review agent where it might review what is written and this thing will go on in a loop. And also the nice thing is Sonnet inherits whatever other things that you have set up here for your Codex session, like skills, MCPs, or the sandbox access. It inherits all of the stuff. So it's really nice because you can stay in Codex and get what Codex does great at: orchestration, complex coding workflows, calling tools, and also whenever it needs to get the warmth and creativeness of Anthropic Claude models, it can do that too. How do we set up Codex to do this? Basically, we use the subagent feature that OpenAI released 2-3 weeks ago. It's stable now. I wrote a detailed blog post if you're interested. But anyway, I'm going to jump directly into the code itself. This is the repository from which we booted up Codex earlier in the demo. This should look familiar if you have configured Codex, the TORML file. Here is where we decide which model Codex uses, which features, MCP, and things like this. The key part for our demo is this thing called as subagents. Here you can define which subagents does Codex have access to in this repository. And here it has visual reviewer and writer. And I'm going to jump into writer now. This defines what the writer subagent itself is, some description, which model, what is the prompt instruction that it gets by default. All of this is great. But the key part for us is this thing called as model provider, LiteLLM. So to explain this, I'm going to jump back to the main Codex config that I showed you. So here is the definition for LiteLLM. So what is this doing? When you call Codex, by default, what it does is it's calling the model behind, like GPT 5.4, 5.3 Codex, and it's calling this using something called as responses API, which OpenAI supports. So if you could expose any model behind the responses API, you could just integrate that here. So as long as you have the Anthropic Claude model available via the responses API, you can bring it into Codex. It's not only for Anthropic Sonnet models, any model that you can call via the responses API, you can bring it in here. You can check the Codex docs, they even officially recommend it. In my case, I have my model deployed in AWS Bedrock. I have a bunch of other models, and I have them all configured in something called as a LiteLLM gateway, which is nothing but a proxy. And it's nice because it gives you these different API endpoints that you can call, like responses, chat completion, and things like this. And here I just point that to it. And then Codex is just able to invoke this Sonnet models within its agentic loop. You can explicitly invoke it, or it might also implicitly invoke it. And you can also, like I said, set up loops so that it calls Sonnet 5.4 reviews and it goes in a cycle. It works quite well. I know I rushed through things and that was probably not the most comprehensive video, but I just wanted to give an inspiration. I'll probably link all the official docs, and then if you want, you can read up. And if you want to bring Sonnet into your own Codex workflow, this is the way that I recommend. This also applies if you're using Codex via the app or the VS Code extension. This should apply everywhere. And that's it. Bye.